Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel once again. And today we have another mock interview. And I hope you're going to learn a lot through this mock interview and have the feeling how the interview is conducted and feel yourself in the same position. If you really want to take part in mock interviews, you can check the link below and I will share the booking slots for mock interviews. And we can go through a mock interview together, hopefully in the future before your actual Chevening interviews. Good morning. Welcome to the Chevening mock interview. My name is Sirat Haidari. I am a Chevening alumni and I am currently practicing law following my Chevening scholarship in the United Kingdom. Today, we have a mock interview with Ms. Farah, and I hope I pronounced your name correctly. We are going through the interview for the next 30 minutes. Normally, the procedure is that I ask all the questions. I try to speak as slowly and clearly as possible. In case if you don't understand me, you can either stop me immediately or at the end of my question, and you ask me to repeat it in the same way or in simple words. So one important issue is to answer the questions as briefly as possible, because you won't have enough time, or you won't be given enough time during the actual interview to explain each question with more details. So before we start the interview, I would like to ask you that, are you ready? Are you comfortable, if everything is okay or not? And in case if you want to take a break to have a glass of water or something, feel free and let me know. So if you are ready to go on, we can just dive into the interview.
Sure, yes, everything is good. We are ready to start.
Thank you very much. Okay, so let's start with the very simplest question. Can you please talk about yourself?
Okay, so first, thank you for your time. And so my name is Farah Baba. I'm 25. I was born and raised in Beirut, Lebanon. I work in advocacy and communications, and I'm a writer and translator on the side. I write about current affairs and I translate a number of literary works and political articles. And I hold a bachelor's degree in psychology from the American University of Beirut, where I was introduced to student activism and to feminism and to different kinds of social organizing. After I graduated, I worked at the Center for Community Service at the university, where I worked with different students from the MENA region on informal education to ease access for formal education. Right now I work with migrant workers in a non-governmental organization called the Anti-Racism Movement, where I organize campaigns with migrant workers and migrant domestic workers. I also do online and offline campaigning and policy lobbying.
Excellent. I see a lot of great achievements and activities and busyness in your life. It's very good. And so we are going a little bit specific now. So an overall interview of yourself, it was very good. So we are going to into specifics. Can you please talk about just your education background? Where did you start it? How did you ended up in psychology? And what's the goal in this field?
Yeah, so I mean, as a kid, I always wanted to enter some field that is related to healthcare. I actually started out in nursing, but when I did enter university and started studying nursing, I didn't really find my passion there. And so I found my passion in psychology, and initially I wanted to be a therapist because of everything that I have studied, and because mental health is usually the second, right now they're calling it the second pandemic. So I took a lot of courses in psychology, it was my major, but I also took courses in other social sciences like sociology and political science and philosophy. So after that, I decided that, okay, I'm very interested in psychology, but also equally in everything else. And I decided to take some time after graduating to actually decide and explore exactly what it is I want to do with my career later on. And that's why I decided to switch from psychology. But at the time, my motivation was to become a therapist. And also I was very interested in social psychology, how individuals behave in groups, and also at the very individual level, specifically in a country like Lebanon, where social and political psychology is very, very important to understand how we interact with the corruption in the country, with the different policies, with favoritism and everything. And that's why I decided that to move from psychology, because I'm very interested in it, but at the same time, the field that I want to enter now has other social sciences alongside psychology.
Yeah, excellent. Can you please tell me, when did you graduate?
I graduated in 2018, and I studied for 4 years. I started in 2014.
2014. Excellent. So the next question is about career plans, careers you've had before. Can you please tell me about your career? How many years have you worked? Did you also work during your bachelor's degree in any internships or other things, or not? After just you started working after you graduated?
Yes. So when I was a student, I did many internships, mainly in programs or organizations that focus on human rights and psychosocial support and reintegration, specifically for asylum seekers and victims of torture. So I did several internships. I also volunteered mainly with organizations that provide alternative access to sexual and reproductive health. I've also been a freelance copy editor and translator and writer since 2015, so almost a year after I entered college. And after that, after I graduated, I volunteered with an online media or news outlet called Megaphone, where it's basically very grassroots reporting and citizen journalism. And there I learned, I had no experience in reporting and communication, but there I learned how to report on very critical issues related to racism and policies and refugees and the economy. At the same time, I had also just started my first job as a project coordinator at the university in the Center for Community Service. I was responsible for over 90 students coming from all across the MENA region who had the MEPI scholarship. And I was overseeing their completion of the non-academic requirements for the scholarship. So I was responsible I worked with them to complete a lot of volunteering hours and to attend several workshops for personal growth. And I was also in charge of organizing these workshops for them. And I also worked on 2 other programs for Syrian refugees to access informal education in order to prepare to enter higher education. After that, after the pandemic, I started working with the organization called Anti-Racism Movement. My job is communications and advocacy. So right now I'm the spokesperson for the organization. I give media interviews, and I also organize online and offline media campaigns for migrant workers, of course, alongside the migrant workers themselves, not on my own. And I also sometimes contribute written pieces to the media to explain the situation. So that's for the communications part. For the advocacy part, I also organize and manage campaigns, whether it's for the short term in terms of very urgent policy change. For example, last year, the government didn't want to vaccinate migrant workers and refugees because a lot of them didn't have papers. So we worked on changing that, and it took a bit of time, but eventually it worked, and we rallied a lot of support around it. And right now we're trying to, I'm in charge of coordinating alongside my colleagues a campaign to abolish the sponsorship system that governs and regulates migrant workers, and that is very abusive. It's a very particular system in Lebanon. So we're working alongside members of our migrant community center on a very grassroots campaign that is not public, but directly with them and with the employers, to try and make the system obsolete so that the government can finally be convinced and abolish it with the economic crisis happening in Lebanon and everything.
I see a lot of activities and background there, and I really hope you have enough time to explain all this in the actual interview you are having, because that's too much, and they're all very important. So I'm going to have a couple of questions regarding your work experience. Can you please tell me the importance of psychology in your work and like mental health in Lebanon? What do you think? How much work is it required in Lebanon regarding mental health and psychology? And how much have you accomplished so far? And how much more can you accomplish in the future? Do you think you can work individually in order to achieve bigger goals in this area, or you are looking to work in groups in the future?
Yeah. So basically, a lot of people know that Lebanon is unfortunately very drowning in corruption since the end of the civil war. And that has hindered a lot of development potential and opportunities. So for example, because of corruption, a lot of people cannot access very basic services unless they go to the leader of their sect, because this is how the economy is structured in Lebanon. And all kinds of development planning and implementation, unfortunately, only happens with international organizations that do a lot of work there. And because of corruption and nepotism and everything, there's a lot of potential that is wasted. So personally, what I plan to do with a master's degree in development studies would entail first working alongside international and also local organizations and groups for development projects, mainly outside of Beirut, because in Beirut, or the capital, is where almost all of the development work is centralized. So I hope to, or I plan to gain very practical experiences from the university that I will go to in order to transfer these skills and also apply them outside of the capital, specifically for three main themes, if you want. One of them is ending or reduction of racism and discrimination, because outside of the capital, the cities and the towns outside of the capitals have a lot of refugee and migrant populations, and obviously Lebanese populations. So I aim to coordinate or to introduce development programs that merge the different nationalities and different communities. The second theme is financial sustainability. Because of the crisis in Lebanon that started around 2 years ago, there's really no sense of financial stability or sustainability for people, and a lot of the development planning that had happened before the crisis, because of the nature of the economy, it turned out to be very short-term or short-sighted. So I aim to compensate for that, obviously alongside other development practitioners. And the third theme is labor justice, because a lot of people, even before the crisis, a lot of people didn't have access to favorable working conditions where they are in a sustainable manner. And this really hinders the development process, because there are no good job opportunities. Even if there are, they're not really well paid. And this is where policy advocacy comes into play as part of the development planning and strategizing, alongside governmental agencies or international organizations, like the International Labour Organization that works a lot on this, and with whom I have had a lot of experience. So to put it very briefly, I aim to work on sustainable financial sustainability outside of the capital, because there is a big lack in development planning, despite a lot of work already happening. And also because I'm an activist, so this is a way to actually realize or materialize the demands that I had, or that other activists or the general population has. So this is a way to put it, actually to implement it and to materialize it instead of only just expressing the demands, we can find a way to, I mean, through this master's degree, I will learn exactly how to implement the demands, and while at the same time being very realistic to the reality in Lebanon and the crisis, because, you know, according to the World Bank, the crisis is going to need 13 or 19 years to end. So we can't just wait until then. We can maybe accelerate the end of the crisis by these kinds of grassroots development work.
So now let's go to the next question. As I see, you have had experience leading these activities and campaigns that you have had, and definitely you do have leadership skills, and you need them in order to work in this field. So can you please explain what does leadership mean to you? And can you give me just one or two examples of your leadership that you are really proud of?
Yes. So to me, leadership is first about accepting responsibility to lead on others and to accept the position of responsibility and accountability to others that you're working with. Second, it's really about good managerial skills, in the sense that you have, I should have good time management to balance between the different responsibilities and to attend to the different needs and demands and questions of the people that you are leading. And third, it's really, to me, it's really about also inspiring others that you're working with, and leading by example. And what I mean by that is I usually focus a lot on leadership when it comes to very critical or urgent situations, because that's really when the leadership trait or character of the person shows. So for example, there was, in 2018, I was the president of a big political club in university. It was called the Secular Club. And at the time, there were the parliamentary elections, and it was a big deal because they haven't happened in 9 years. And we needed to do something about that. Do we endorse? Do we campaign? Do we get people to vote or not? And unfortunately, a lot of the campaigns were not really, they didn't really fit our standards. It was kind of disappointing, and there was a lot of tension in the club when I was the president at the time. And should we endorse anyone? Should we tell people to vote? Oh, but also the law to vote is very bad. So what do we do? So basically, what I had decided, or a lot, obviously after consulting with everyone and after a lot of meetings, and that I decided to make an unpopular decision and not to very strongly advocate not to endorse anyone because of the electoral law and everything. And it was a very delicate situation to navigate, because people wanted to vote, but we could not vote because we were under 21. So what do you do? So basically, eventually everyone was convinced, because they could not vote, they couldn't even vote. I think, yeah, I like to focus on that example because there was a lot of tension, and I needed to navigate as the leader of this group. I needed to navigate and to give equal opportunity to all kinds of opinions, for people to express themselves and to even express disappointment about the process or the outcome or even the discussion. And so to make it brief, leadership to me is the ability to inspire a good or reasonable outcome in times of crises. Whether or not people are convinced, they would at least be convinced with the process that this person was able to lead the situation to get us out of it in a reasonable way, in a respectful way that respected everyone's opinion, and in a way that balanced all different kinds of opinions and attitudes.
Great, Farjan. So I see that you've been involved in these activities, for example, having these leadership skills and experiences. That definitely shows that you have been involved in different networks, either professional, voluntary, or in your community, as you already explained. So then in order to work effectively in these networks, you need to have effective networking skills. Can you please tell me what or what are effective networking skills. And I think you have already provided good examples. If you have another example, sure, you can share.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just explain me very shortly what effective networking skills are.
Sure. So, well, personally, I have a process for networking. So first, I should do my research. For example, at my work, since I'm the spokesperson and I need to talk to the media the entire time, whenever we have a campaign or something urgent, I do my research. So who are the journalists or the other organizations that are willing to pick up this advocacy demand or campaign and to support us in realizing it and pressuring for it. So I do my research, and I also, part of the research also entails knowing how, or thinking about how we can also, or I can also benefit the other person or the entity I'm reaching out to in the future. So you support us now. In the future, obviously, we all support each other. But right now, this is urgent, and we need your support to voice it out, to put it online or offline. So that's the first step. The second step is a very basic and simple thing, which is just talking to the person, being straight to the point. Hello, my name is Farah. I'm the communications officer at ARM. We have this campaign and it's very urgent and we would really like your support. This is what I would like to ask of you. So, and this is the third thing. After talking to them, I have a very specific call to action, whether endorse this or tweet it, or please put me in touch with this person that you know. And the fourth thing is to keep track of all of the contacts, which I know might sound very simple, but to me, being a very good or a very basic and essential step in networking is keeping track of everything in an organized manner. So to know which contacts can be helpful for which kinds of things and which contacts I might be helpful for in the future. And also, and the fifth thing that I do is usually combine all of my new contacts after networking to combine them all together in a meeting or in an informal meeting, whether it is for professional reasons or for other reasons, to kind of get people to know each other. So I wouldn't be just networking for myself and for what I need at the moment, but also for others. So and so anytime anyone needs support from others, whether it's a campaign or anything really, they know that they have this network that I was part of creating. And the last thing is to
I have to cut you here now,
yes.
Farah. Sorry.
I said most.
It's very good to see that you are not only in networks, because normally I've interviewed people and everybody is telling that I took these kind of advantages from this network, because networking is not about just getting, but importantly,
exactly.
networking is about giving something. And I see that you have that mentality and understanding, and that's definitely what helps you. So, Chevening also has a very vast networking platform. So my question is, what will you give to Chevening Network once you are in the UK? A student involved in the Chevening network, and then there's the Chevening alumni network. So what will you give with respect to all your experiences and these networking groups that you have?
Yeah. Well, first, at the first level, when I'm in the UK, obviously there are different aspects to it. So there are the people that are coming from the other Cheveners that are coming from my country and from the region. And so obviously the first thing that I would offer or that I would bring to the table is this sense of community that we're, and obviously to other people from all other nationalities. So this sense of community, because I think I'm a very extroverted person. So by this, I mean, I'm creating this sense of friendship and support. This is at the very interpersonal level. Now at the professional and networking level, I think what I can really bring is my networking skills, and because I'm someone that is always thinking about something, so take it to, but also to support their own ideas, whether for networking or not. And after, for the alumni part, after I come back here, I will have studied development, and that it's very important to have a regional and an international network for that, because you can't just do development in one country without it being connected to the rest of the global economy and development process. So I aim in the medium term and long term after I graduate. I aim to work with them professionally and to make use of their skills, but also to transfer mine, and not just with other Cheveningers that come from this region, but also globally, because this is the nature of the global economy, is that everything is connected, especially because I currently work. Yeah. Yes.
As I see, I'm currently a Chevening alumni. I don't see a lot of other alumni are connected with Cheveners in MENA region. I have connection with MENA region since 2015 when I was in my university having extracurricular activities. But I think it's a very good thing that you start to connect the alumni together with MENA region, not just people in your own area. So we started to go a little bit from your country to the UK. So now you are in the UK, as you said, you want to study and you return. So can you please tell me why UK, why Chevening, and why you want to study in the UK? You can also study, I believe, in your country or not, maybe USA or another place. So why you have chosen UK and Chevening?
So first, there are no development studies programs in Lebanon, which is unfortunate. After I realized that, I did a lot of research on the best development programs in the world, and a lot of them, or most of them, actually were in the UK. And I thought, okay, this is very interesting. It's 1 year, and it's very, very good programs. It's just 1 year, so I can finish fast and come back to Lebanon to work in this field. And why Chevening is because I know from a lot of alumni that this is more than just a scholarship that funds you to study. It's an entire community. And I really do want to replicate my university experience as an undergrad by having a very big community. And obviously in the UK, it's going to be 10 times better because I'm going to be in a network or a community of people from all different kinds of cultures and nationalities and experiences. And also because the universities in the UK are among the best in the world. They're always listed among the best. And academically, the courses are extremely interesting and really fit my interest, especially the first choice, which is UCL. It has a lot of components that really fit the Lebanese context and the entire region's context. And lastly, I would say that, again, I would really want to be part of a community, not just academically, but that through which I can experience the UK also outside of a classroom. So to balance between an experience that is very academic and also that is very social and very cultural at the same time. And that's exactly why it's a perfect combination between going to the UK, but also being part of Chevening.
Very excellent. So can you please tell me about the universities that you have chosen? Which universities? Very shortly, you just tell me university, your first option, this university, why, and second why, and third why, because we have only like 5 or 6 minutes left.
Yeah, so my first choice is the University College London, or UCL. The program I've applied for is Masters of Science and Social Development Practice. So it's very, very practical, social development on the ground, and also in terms of policy. It has a lot of modules that are very particular to, like very relevant to Lebanon, like disaster risk management for the development process. And it also has a lot of urban planning component, which is ideal because after the big explosion that happened in Beirut in 2020, this is really something that is really needed since a lot of skilled Lebanese people just immigrated. And my second option is SOAS, the School of Oriental and African Studies. I've applied for the Masters of Science in Development Studies because SOAS has one of the best programs in the world for development. It really combines theory with practice. And I have to say that both universities, I'm motivated to apply to both of them because they're in London, and London is one of the main hubs in the globe for development practitioners and opportunities and to learn also outside of the classroom. And I've already been accepted to SOAS 2 years ago. So hopefully this year I would also get accepted. And the third option is Masters of Arts in Social Development at the University of Sussex, which is under the Development Department, which is ranked #1 in the world, and for which I've already been accepted 2 years ago. And that's mainly the main reason. They all also require an internship in a country in the global south, which is very ideal because I wouldn't just be learning and writing papers theoretically, but I would also learn how to actually implement it in a real life setting without being shocked once I'm back to Lebanon, okay, and ask myself, how do I implement this? No, all of these universities require very practical placements, and they're among the best in the world.
Definitely. So the next question is, because you talked about the internship, so do you like to participate in these internships during your studies? Or when you have breaks, do you want to work in the UK as well in this field if you find jobs? If you do, can you please explain me how can you handle studying and working? Because studying in the UK is it's very challenging because everything is compressed into 1 year. And how can you handle everything?
Yeah, so I mean, when I was an undergrad, it was also very intense because it was an American system, and I managed to do many internships at once, and I participated in many research projects at the same time. So, and at my job, I do more than one thing at once. With very tight deadlines. So in terms of time management, but also like balancing a healthy lifestyle between working and studying, I think that I'm already grounded in that. But specifically, if I make it to the UK through Chevening, I think that since an internship is already required, I think while studying, other than the internship, I would be more interested in contributing to research projects because an internship is already required. So to balance with it, I would participate in research projects with the different professors whom I've already researched. Yeah, so working, I'm not sure, but because I really want to make the most out of being a student again. I really miss it. But yeah, so mainly focusing on research projects to also to advise my thesis later on in terms of like the theoretical framework and everything, since I will already be applying it through the internship that is required.
That's very good. So I have to ask a question. Do you want to return back to your country once your studies are finished? And how can you convince me that you really want to return and not stay in the UK?
Yeah, well, first, obviously, I want to study development because it's a very big need in my country. It's been going through a crisis for the past 2.5 years. And also, as I was saying before, I'm an activist and social organizer, and really, I wouldn't be involved in these initiatives and activism if I wasn't really keen on being part of the social change that I want to see in the country. So later on, if I want to pursue a graduate or doctorate degree later on in like 6 or 7 years, I might return to study. But right now, my priority is to come back to Lebanon. So because there is a crisis, I know that there are a lot of job opportunities in development planning and practice in the country. So that's already good. And also, I mean, we've had an uprising, a big financial collapse, and an explosion. So I was very personally touched by all of these different events that happened, which is why I want to study development, to come back and be part of instigating social change on the ground in a very grassroots manner, because I know that's exactly what would help if it's replicated by many different people. So I'm very attached to coming back to my country.
Great. So you want to return back to your country, and what is the plan? What's the short-term plans, career plans, and what are maybe for the short term, and what are goals for the long-term plans?
Yeah. So for the short-term plan, once I return, I plan to work with the informal groups that are trying to do some kind of development planning outside of the capital, and to try to help them secure funding and to be part and to supervise them or work with them on the development projects that they want to plan and implement. And at the same time, because I write and translate, I'm also very keen on producing knowledge about development planning and implementation. So while supporting these initiatives and being part of them and maybe starting my own projects, I plan to also produce knowledge on what works, what doesn't. So like a lot of guides for development planning, because again, this is a very big gap in Lebanon, especially since we have a crisis. So that's on the short and medium term. On the long term, as I mentioned before, we don't have programs in universities to study development. So in the very long term, maybe in like 6-7 years, after I've gained a lot of practical experience, I plan to pursue a doctorate in development planning, most likely in the UK, and to come back to Lebanon and try to contribute to opening these kinds of departments and programs, so that people can study them here, be grounded in the context here, and then practice it here in Lebanon. And obviously a big part of it on the short and long run is to lobby for policy change, because I would be studying development practice, so I would be very knowledgeable about what works, what doesn't, what will work in the short term versus the long term. So also lobbying for policy change and advocating for actual policy change with actual alternatives, not just to ask the government or policymakers to change something, but also to tell them what I believe alongside the other groups, what I believe would work as a very practical alternative.
Very good. Since we are running out of time, so I'm just asking one more question and then we are done. Otherwise, I would have asked you at least 10 more questions. So doing all these activities, most of the time we have admirations or role model in our life. So can you please tell me who is your role model and why? If any.
Yeah, I have many, but the first one that comes to my mind is my previous boss, who was the advocacy manager where I worked. I admire her leadership skills because she makes a perfect balance between being very ambitious, but also at the same time being very realistic and practical, and not to drown in our over-ambitious dreams. So I've learned a lot from her in terms of balancing between the two. And also because she has a very particular way for strategic thinking, which a big part of my strategic thinking I learned from her, in terms of taking a moment to realize what's happening, setting a plan, and planning different scenarios. So, okay, this is what I want in 5 months. So this is what I have to do in order to reach there, and also have a plan B and plan C. And also at the interpersonal level, she's someone who is very honest in a very kind way. Whenever, for example, obviously in any setting in life, especially at the workplace, there would be disagreements. So the way that she would manage conflict of opinions, or when something doesn't work, instead of blaming the person or yelling at the person, she would be, okay, so this, you couldn't do this right. Why? Is something wrong? Did you not understand? Was I not able to coach you well? What do you need so that you can do it right next time, or so that you can improve? So this is the kind of, like, if you want, leading by example, ways of being a role model that I really admire, being realistic, at the same time being ambitious, and being very practical, very honest, very kind at the same time to the people that you're working with, and being very clear, especially in a work setting like ours in advocacy, being very clear what you want. Whenever you want to approach policymakers or others, allies, or the people that you are advocating for. So this is like the kind of role model that I really admire and look up to.
Thank you very much for the questions, and thank you very much for your time, Ms. Farah. We have gone through a lot of questions. I wish you best of luck and success with your career.
Thank you so
So
much.
the questions that you have answered, it will be reviewed by the panel team. And once the panel reviews all the interviewees, then they will decide who is going to win these scholarships in your country. Until then, I wish you good luck and success. If you have any questions to ask the panel, why not? It's the time.
Yeah. I don't think I have any questions. I think I've become very familiar with the process and everything. So thank you so much for your time.
Wow, that was an amazing interview. I hope you have learned a lot through these interviews, mock interviews. And if you want to participate in the mock interview, please check the comments in the description below or the comments, I will share it. If you have any questions, please write it in the comments. If you have your own experiences, please write it in the comments. Of course, each interview is different. If you have a different experience, definitely again, write in the comments. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a good day. Bye-bye.